Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome to Wednesday's Hump Day edition of the Full 100. Today, we're going to be touching solely on the coronavirus situation. We're going to take a look at the UK. UK is actually becoming quite drastic now. So I've got some clips for you on the UK situation, some updates on the UK situation. We're also going to take a look at Spain, who currently have 8 million under lockdown. Yeah, the whole of Madrid's under lockdown. So they're having a resurgence. And then there's a short brief look at the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic had a great first run. No one even heard about them. They didn't feature on anything. It's like they had it wrapped up and no crisis whatsoever. But then now they got a second wave, and the second wave is like the first one. So guys, this is taking a toll for the worse. Then we're going to touch on the United States and how poorly they're doing. So without further ado, guys, let's get down to today's show. Now, as I said, my first clip is from Breakfast TV. I've got two clips from Breakfast TV as it goes. I got one from yesterday that tells you the information, and then I got one from today which takes in Boris Johnson's speech yesterday about lockdown. Now, once I've showed you that second video, the one from this morning with Boris Johnson, there's a couple of things I want to touch on that in terms of what he was saying, how if people are being stubborn, what's going to happen, and that sort of thing. So guys, take a look at my first video.
So, as we've heard this morning, all pubs, restaurants and hospitality venues in England will have to close their doors at 10 p.m. from Thursday.
The nationwide curfew comes as cases have risen to their highest since May. A further 4,368 were reported in the UK in the last 24 hours, taking the weekly average to more than 3,500 per day.
The number of people being admitted to hospital is also slowly rising, with over 200 admissions being reported over the last 7 days.
And on average, 22 deaths were recorded in England per day in the last week.
Like I said, the UK is in trouble. However, what I can say is they looks like Boris and his team have learned the lesson a little bit from the first time round when they cocked up. So yesterday he came and made a speech. He was quite straightforward. The only thing I will say about his speech is that I wish he had or showed more passion about the race issue the way he does with this, because they've put a law in, people have flouted it, and he's raised the stakes, and he's threatened more fine and more policing of the laws. That's what we're asking for on the race issue. Put in a law that protects black people, put in a law that stops racism, and if people flout it, then you keep putting up the penalties. That's the way everything works in life. When it comes to the race issue, they seem not to know that it works the same way. So guys, take a look at excerpts of his speech made yesterday, Tuesday, okay?
Good morning, it's Wednesday the 23rd of September. Our top story: expect 6 more months of coronavirus restrictions. That was the message from Boris Johnson in a televised address to the nation.
He outlined the reasons for bringing in new regulations for England and warned that if people don't follow them, even tighter rules lie ahead. Our political correspondent Jonathan Blake reports.
A Prime Minister addressing the nation on television is not as rare as it was. But even during a pandemic, it's still a big moment. After announcing new restrictions in England, Boris Johnson said a new national effort was needed.
The single greatest weapon we bring to this fight is the common sense of the people themselves, the joint resolve of this country to work together to suppress COVID now. And to those who say we don't need this stuff and we should leave people to take their own risks, I say these risks are not our own. The tragic reality of having COVID is that your mild cough can be someone else's death knell. And as for that minority who may continue to flout the rules, we will enforce those rules with tougher penalties and fines of up to £10,000. We will put more police out on the streets and use the army to backfill if necessary.
Last orders will come earlier from now on for the next 6 months, perhaps, and a warning that further measures might be necessary.
If people don't follow the rules we've set out, then we must reserve the right to go further.
Welcome back, guys. So I want to say a few things. Some things to echo what Boris just said. I hear so much. He mentioned common sense. I hear so much uncommon sense around people I know that it pains me. We're so selfish that we tend to see everything as like it's against us personally. What he quite rightly said, if we abide by this, some of us probably have had it, didn't even know. I don't think I've had it, but there's going to be some of us who have had it and we were asymptomatic, but we would have passed it on to other people. It can still happen. We can still catch it and pass it on to other people. While we might be okay, they might not. This is a time to understand that this is not a plandemic like many people like to call it. I hear it, I just ignore it now because really close friends call it that. I give up. However, one day the truth will be told, innit? No one seems to call the Spanish flu 100 years ago a pandemic because they know we couldn't have planned stuff like that. We didn't even have antibiotics. They can only call it a pandemic now because we have the technology to maybe do something like that. So guys, look, this is now a mini lockdown for 6 months. I personally don't want to go on another lockdown. What they have in place is the best option that there is. So my urge to anyone who sees this, respect the mask situation. If you have a genuine medical exemption, there is room for you. Just go and apply through the main channels. Apply through the way you need to apply for it so you get some kind of documentation stamped and official that says you're exempt from it. Other than that, let's just abide with this thing and just let's put it all behind us. I'm going to scoot over to Spain now. Spain had a torrid first wave. Now they're having a torrid second wave. Then you got the Czech Republic, who had a smooth first run. They didn't even show, I didn't even remember who they were because theirs was so quiet. They just saw it through. But the second wave they're having now, worse than the first time by far. So this is like the first wave in reality. So guys, take a look at my next video with a brief look at France. They talk about France and when France is in trouble, Europe's in trouble. These things come back again. It's basically come back, guys. So take a look.
Just a lot. This is a place we're told the UK does not want to go. The problems there could be down the line for us here in the UK. Give us the picture.
Yeah, let's start with Spain, but I also want to mention the Czech Republic as well, because as of yesterday, the Czech Republic has overtaken France per capita in terms of worst affected areas, the second worst affected country now in Europe. So Spain, first of all, 8.5 million people now in a sort of lockdown in Madrid, in parts of Madrid. Not as bad as it was during the height of the pandemic, where people couldn't leave their homes unless it was essential reasons, but they cannot leave their zone. And they're fairly small suburbs in the communes, and bars, restaurants can't open after 10 o'clock, similar to parts of the UK. You're also looking at groups of more than 6 who can't hang around together, and also parks are to be closed. Now, the rate has dropped from, it was around 10,000 a day pretty regularly since the 28th of August. It's dropped to about 5,000 a day there. The Czech Republic, the Prime Minister last night, Andrej Babiš, gave a TV address to the nation, a sort of mea culpa, in which he said, I got it wrong during the summer. I got too carried away. I should have enforced mask wearing. In the Czech Republic, they're having more cases now than they had during the height of the pandemic. They're also making it mandatory to have masks in schools, in the classrooms too. Again, restaurants closing at 10. And the French, for the last 10 days, have seen regularly 10,000 cases too. We heard about Nice, Lyon in mandatory mask wearing. Big issue there looking at Marseille, where they're looking at saturations of certain hospitals too.
Gavin, thank you very much.
So guys, I'm on to my last video now. Where else is there to go other than America? I want to point out something. Notice that every country and every country's leader is doing something when this thing shows its head again. They're going at it. They're learning from the first time. They're at least doing something. And that you got to commend them. From Boris to Macron in France to you know, Canada's been quiet, but Australia's had to go through some stringent lockdown in the last sort of month and a half. They've locked down whole Melbourne and whole cities. So every leader's doing something. There's only one country where the leader has 4% of the world's population. 4%, 380 million in America, 370, 380. So they're 4% of the world, but yet they are 25% of deaths in the world. And this guy thinks they're doing great. He's not ramping up anything. He's not instigating a new lockdown. He's doing nothing but telling people to come out to his rallies and lie to them and tell them it's all good. We're doing great. I just feel sorry for the Americans. I really do. Take a look at the corona situation in the US.
Huge death toll. Bryn.
Allison, good morning. From day one, he's downplayed this pandemic, and he remains steadfast, the president, that he's done, as you just heard, a phenomenal job in handling this crisis, even as we're still in it. This as we're seeing cases go up in nearly half the states in this country. The infection rate is also going up, and we are inching closer to that grim milestone of 200,000 lives lost due to this pandemic.
As the United States approaches another grim milestone, President Trump continued to downplay the pandemic's impact, saying that in some areas,
it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing.
But the coronavirus has killed nearly 200,000 people in the U.S.
The numbers are telling. We have in this country now, close to 200,000 deaths. We have 6 million plus infections. You can't look at that and say that's terrific.
Trump once again claiming without proof that the pandemic will soon be over.
By the way, we're rounding the corner in any event, but we're going to have a vaccine very soon.
In Wisconsin, Joe Biden urging Americans to avoid becoming numb to the staggering toll of the pandemic.
We can't lose the ability to feel the sorrow and the loss and the anger for so many lives lost. We can't let the numbers become statistics, a background noise.
The Democratic nominee also blaming Trump for mishandling the crisis.
He froze. He failed to act. He panicked. And America's paid the worst price of any nation in the world.
This morning, at least 24 states are seeing an increase in new cases over the past week. Dr. Anthony Fauci stressing how important it is to keep guidance like wearing masks out of politics.
Wearing a mask or not is a political statement, and that's really very unfortunate, totally unfortunate, because this is a purely public health issue.
And health experts are trying to decipher if the surge in cases that we're seeing is that the fallout from the holidays, from the summer, people going back to school, or is this ahead of the flu and fall season?
Welcome back. We're now at the end of the show. What can I say, guys? Let's just, whether you think it's a conspiracy or it's a pandemic or it's a scamdemic, let's see if we do this thing right, if we come out the other end. That's my advice to everybody, because, you can't get the whole world on a conspiracy theory. You can't. There's going to be rulers that ain't going to go with that to mash up the economy. I mean, it's mind-boggling what people really believe, other than just the truth, the simple truth. This is an epidemic, this is a pandemic, a brand new virus. One like we've never seen before, but one that's a similar one that has occurred in the past. They had nothing to beat it with them times, and they lost 50 million citizens of planet Earth. The times are sobering times. It needs our common sense to play. It needs to get rid of the conspiracy, they're coming to get you behavior. And just remember, people, real people have died. 200, you see what happens in a country where no one cares, where the leader doesn't care. You become your 4% of the world's population, but you have a quarter of the world's death. So let's commend those leaders who took action. Because I tell you something for nothing. If Trump was the Prime Minister of the UK, we would have similar numbers dead in this country. When you look at the numbers we've got dead, I know they're saying it's 40-something thousand. I believe it's more 70,000. However, if we had 200,000 dead in this country, and let's say the estimate is 60 to 70,000 now, at some point, every one of us would know someone who's passed, because we're a much smaller country. We're a much smaller country. We're 65 million. America's 370, 80 million. If we had 200,000 people dead in this country, which could easily have happened, every one of us would have been touched by this. So guys, I want to leave you with how serious this is. Please take it seriously. We're in for another 6 months of this madness now, which takes in Christmas, takes in my birthday. So it is what it is, guys. So I'll see you all on the next edition on Friday. In the meantime, enjoy yourself. We're now in the autumn weather. Gone is out of the jumpers and gone are the shirts. So enjoy the season and have a brilliant weekend. Bye bye now. Take care.